You're listening to PDR Tool Talk, all about PDR stories, tools, and techniques.
For the thousands in attendance, ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Mike Toledo, along with Vince D'Alessandro, along with, Vince D'Alessandro. There's no Daniel Grom. There's no John Hiley. I was out last week, so you're the only one that's kind of like the veteran on this one, on this episode. And so what was cracking last week? What happened?
All right. Last week, we covered a lot of new tools that are out that are going to benefit hail technicians. It's hail season. They're about 3 to 4 weeks behind of a big storm. Usually the big storm is hit by now, but there's stuff popping. There's stuff popping here and there. And when this airs, Texas had some hail, previous to, this week while we're recording. And there's Alabama. There's a few places. South Carolina got hit.
Yeah.
So, things are picking up a little bit, but they're not, like last year.
What do you mean? Like was last year busier than this year by this time?
Yeah, last year I think Texas already had gotten a couple good storms.
Dallas already got hit, right, or something, Fort Worth or something like that. So.
Exactly.
But lately, all I see is Texas still like mainly dominating the hail app right now that I see.
Yeah, and if you remember, this time last year, we were at the Mega Media event in March, and while we were there at the party,
no, you're mixing it up. I'm
sorry, the Bonanza.
The Anson
Bonanza. I'm sorry, not the Mega Media event.
I know there's so many events going on now.
So many. We're going to talk about some of those events in a little bit too.
Yeah. We
covered hail tools. What's the latest and greatest? And I know, Mike, it seemed that you weren't there. What do you think of the two hood stands you got going on?
Dude, that good thing you reminded me of that. I'm not reminded me. Just touch base. I've been using them lately. Here's Dave. Dave just came on. Dave Schaulat. What's going on, Dave?
Hi, Dave.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you guys?
Good. I'm just trying to finish my thought on our sentence on the two hood stands. One's from TDN and one's from Carbon Tech.
Yep.
Top notch, man. Honestly, it is a coin flip which one you want to get. So, the one that to me personally, as of right now, the fastest one that goes in the bag is TDN. The fastest one that comes out of the bag, Carbon Tech. So, all right.
So it's literally a coin flip.
Yeah. I think the only thing that's holding Carbon Tech from putting in the bag really super fast is the bag. I think is a little too small. And I heard, what's his name? Gosh dang it. Like tip of my head. Todd. There you go. He's got new bags coming out for it. So, but, dude, they're hell of a well made, I still want to do my full review on it. Honestly, I'm really glad I took my time and really understand the full use of them. I like there's certain ways that you put away the TDN cart. If you got to tighten those little things that on the side that hold the rails. Well, you got to make sure they're flush and they're tight and they put away. You can't just put them away loose, because when you put the table part around it inside the bag, it can get caught in one of those. So you got to make sure they're tight and secure, and it'll go in smooth.
Let me ask you this, because what we were talking about, none of us except for you have both of them. So the big question was, do you think that the TDN tool or TDN hood stand and the Carbon Tech, are they mainly for guys that are traveling around, or do you think that it's useful for someone that's in a shop all the time?
Oh, hell no. I'd take the shop all the time. Yeah. Because you know why? Because when you're not using it, you don't even have to put it in its bag. You just fold it up and put it in the corner somewhere, and it's not taking any space. You know what I mean? Sure. Or you can put it on one of your hooks and you're donezo. You know what I mean? So it's easy. I like it. I think it's just awesome. For either one of them you're going to love it.
Yeah, because that was the big discussion that we were having yesterday or last week about them was, there's plenty of other. Yeah, that mute button's in the bottom left.
Sorry, you're just now telling me to. I'll come back at 5:15. Sorry, Vince.
Oh, no, hit that mute button.
I'm going to hang on.
So what
now
I was
you guys can see me better in the sunlight.
So what was I going to mention? What were you saying, Vince?
Well, the discussion was whether there's other hood stands out there, and Pro PDR Solutions tends to be the big common one with the blue top on it. You know which one we're talking about?
Yeah. Looks like that used to look like the official ping pong table one, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that guy there, that seems to be one of the big hitters, and now that's not so mobile compared to the TDN or the Carbon Tech one. Those two are very mobile. They collapse down. They're going to fit in your truck nicely if you're going from site to site.
Yeah. Yep. Well, you're talking about something else though that Dwayne Emerson about a couple weeks ago, and we shot some video of the Power PDR Box. Mm-hmm. And you've been using it for a while, and I know we've talked about it before. So we shot some awesome video of it. I'll be honest with you, some of the video that I shot that was supposed to be so awesome, it wasn't so awesome because it was so hard for me to go work around him and shoot, and then capture and keep the camera still to watch it. It came out good. He did a great job. It was a bad part on my job. Usually I'm a good cameraman, but I just couldn't hold it steady enough to like get it. And you can't, whoever has ever tried to shoot a video of their dent work, it's way harder than you think, fellas. Way harder than you think. Yeah. So
with that Power PDR Box, Mike, it would be hard to shoot because the way that what you see, how it waves, it's like a wave. It's literally like you drop a drop of water in the bucket and you literally see the waves going on, right? Yeah. The ripples.
I call it under what do you call it? Under panel drawing almost. You're almost coloring the dent out. That's how I can see. You can see like the pencil tip tracing underneath the dent. You know what I mean? And it's shrinking the dent. So, so to answer your question, you're right. And so I had to reshoot it. So I kept the footage of me and Dwayne. So it's actually coming out this Saturday. So it's an intro with Dwayne actually in there talking. He does one good demo that I saved that he's doing a crease. And then I did some big shots by myself, and I also did a chrome bumper, and I really got the detail of that wand making contact on the panel or on the bumper, and just watching it just trace the dent out. It was amazing. And then I swing over to my student from Hong Kong, and he's got this look like amazement, but pissed off at the same time because now he's finally starting to use it. And he's like, why did I even train for PDR? So, but we all know, Vince, between you and me and others out there who've tried it, it's not going to replace PDR. I mean, it can't do deep, big, nasty, sharp stuff. And, it's not even just that. There is limitations to it.
You have to have the fundamentals of PDR to pull it off properly. And that's number one thing. You have to be able to read a light board. You have to be able to know where your tip is. You have to know how high it's going up, what's going to get knocked down.
Yeah.
Like that. Only a PDR tech is going to know how to do that stuff.
Yeah. And it's going to take a decent PDR tech to actually make it really, really nice. So I think the most impressive thing about this, in my opinion, is that you're out doing hail and you got some really stretched metal and you're working it. Then all of a sudden it's oil canning. And then from there, you're like, crap, man, this is a $3,500 roof. And if I don't save this, it's either the body shop's going to want to take it, or I'm only going to get a certain percentage of it for push to paint, or I might not even get it at all. So, and it tightens up the metal. And let's say you have a little bit of a mess, like bunch of highs and lows, and it just looks like crap before you sand it, it'll tighten up all that metal. Tighten it up, man. And it gets hot. Don't get me wrong. It gets really hot, but it doesn't get as hot as fast as a hot box does. And you don't have to worry about discoloring the paint either. So that's what I like about it.
Yeah. We tested it. The first time I tested it on aluminum, I'm like, oh, this thing's not working. Oh, geez, what I get myself into? I've been talking this thing up because it works so great on steel. And then, I'm calling up Dwayne, and, I'm getting death threats from Eastern European people, talking bad about it, and just joking, of course. But they were like, they weren't happy that I wasn't able to fix it, and finally, once we went to the Ultra event and got in front of Dwayne and showed the techniques, and it works just as good on aluminum as it does on steel.
Yeah.
You just have to make sure you can't sand it with like 320 grit sandpaper and have ridges in there, because it'll literally, on aluminum, it'll catch those grooves and get stuck in there. So it has to be smooth when you do, remove the paint off the backside on aluminum, at least.
Well, that's the drawback. You gotta sand down the e-coat from the back. But honestly, you get the e-coat spray and you're good to go. So I don't see the big fuss as many people think it's going to be. I guarantee you, if they make a fuss, but as soon as they do an oil can dent, that's going to like jeopardize how much money they could make on it.
Yeah.
I guarantee they'll change their mind in a second. So
what's blown my mind, Mike, is the speed of it.
Yes.
Like you're talking about that oil can dent that, you're fixing a dent. Next thing you know, it's oil canning. Now you're like, oh crap, I'm going to be on this one dent for like 20 minutes, half hour, maybe even longer.
45 minutes minimum, I think.
And you're getting cornrows, you're going back and forth, trying to displace the metal even farther out. You take something that's the size of a quarter, now you got something the size of a small dish that you're trying to move all the metal out.
Yeah.
And it's totally unnecessary with this tool.
Yeah.
You just get in there and boom, it's tightening it up instantly. You're getting up all the low spots instantly, and you're done within like minutes.
I know, I hate to say it, but it's too easy.
It's too easy.
Yeah. So it's, to me personally, the more I use it, the more and I'm getting better. You without giving too much away, man, you got to dial it in. You can't just set it on a setting and then go, oh, let me try it. You got to ease up onto it. Right now, I think the sweet spot is between 2.5 to 2.9, 2.8, like there. If you really want to take your time to do it to 2.5, and on most steel, it will really bring up that metal without leaving those spiky high spots. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
But
and it varies from manufacturer. Some metals reacts better than others.
So if you guys want to see it, because this is Tuesday, it dropped right here. So we are technically in Texas. Vince, you've already been in Texas. I'm in Texas now. But I dropped this video Saturday on YouTube. So check it out. If you guys want to see the demonstration, check it out. And then there's be some links below the YouTube video where you can buy it. You can buy it at Ultra. He's going to be a distributor. And then Dwayne, he's got his website there. I'm not sure if it's completely up yet by the time you hear this, but the link will be there so you can buy it from him directly as well.
Yeah, and those that are going to the Anson Bonanza, I'm sure it'll be there as well. I'm not sure if you could buy them from Anson just yet, but it's right around the corner. That's going to happen. Also, TDN Tools USA is carrying them, and he's got a special going on.
I honestly think that there will not be enough in stock once people see this, and once people get them in the hands out in the real hail world, and they see that this guy's got one, and he's just making his money away. You know what I mean? And it's going to be, I guarantee by the end of the year, you won't be able to get one. You won't be able to find one.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
So anyhow, okay. So what are we bringing Dave on? Is he in the background? What let me get him on. Let me unmute him here. You ready?
Dave?
Are you ready, Dave?
Unmute. There you go. Yeah. We got Dave Schaulat, our good friend Dave Schaulat is on the show today because I wanted him to recap what went on at the TDN Open House over in jolly old England. Dave made the trek from Phoenix, Arizona, all the way over to jolly old Peterborough, right? Peterborough. Yeah, England. And he hung out with the TDN guys and the European technicians. So we want to pick your brain because a lot of us can't afford or don't have the time to go over there. Everyone loves the guys, Jordan Fisher and
Kevin Andrews and Tony.
Exactly. Kevin, Andrews, and everyone else over there. They're great people. They have great service. They ship their stuff from Europe pretty much quicker than sometimes what you could get domestically here. So why don't you recap? What was it like over there?
It was raining.
Oh,
Surprise, surprise. No, what was it like? It was fantastic. I'm so fortunate and happy to have had the opportunity to go, and their hospitality was incredible. It was great. I got there on Friday morning, and the open house was on Saturday. So the reason I'm saying that, just to kind of take you through it, we got there Friday morning, late morning or early afternoon, and the setup had begun for the open house. And in the middle of it, Kevin was still doing some certifications for some dent technicians. He also had Gary Hewerdine from the IMI, which is the Institute of Motor Industry, which is the certification that everybody's talking about that's hot right now with the electric vehicle, the EV and hybrid training Kevin does. So Gary was there kind of overseeing Kevin to make sure that he's doing everything by the books, so that Kevin then has the ability by law to issue these certificates and certainly for the electrical vehicle and the hybrid training. So Kevin was in the middle of certifying some technicians for their dent qualifications through the IMI as well. So that was going on Friday while we were there, along with the setup. And the guys had put down, if you've not seen it, Jordan's got a huge lorry, as they're called in the UK, which is a large truck or a semi. And it's not really a full semi truck. It's more of a bobtail, as we'd know it here in the States. And he's got an awning that comes down. They have a drive-in estimating system with tarps that they put over, so they're ready for any kind of weather conditions. And so they've got these huge brackets that come out the side of the vehicle and rest on the ground, create an awning, and it's essentially built onto the side of the truck. So it's fantastic. They've got a door that opens. It's like a big. It's like a motorhome, really, in terms of size. And then they've got their office inside of there, and additional everything you could possibly need to do estimating on the catastrophe side. So that was parked outside, and then kind of added to an additional outdoor space that we had. But the setup was going on Friday afternoon, and then we had a great time. We went out to dinner. There were about 20 of us out to dinner Friday night, and then on Saturday, before 10 o'clock, before the open even. Guys were pouring in. It was fantastic.
Now, the town of Peterborough, is it close to London? Is it out in the country? Is it a busy town or out in the sticks?
Peterborough is a bit north of London, probably about an hour and a half or 2 hour drive north of London. And so, yeah, I guess out in the sticks, and most Americans understand England as London, maybe Manchester, maybe Birmingham. If you're an Ozzy Osbourne fan, but those are kind of the three big cities, of course. But Peterborough is no slouch in and of itself. It's a decent sized area.
Yeah.
Typical English town. You've got your high street. You've got churches. You've got small stores, and then you have the culture there is divided so that you have business parks and housing estates and kind of separation there between commercial and residential. So kind of just your typical English town, not terribly big, but a couple hours north of London.
Plenty of pubs, more than two?
I would think so, yes.
Okay.
I did not hang my hat in Peterborough for the after 5 o'clock time.
All right. And the town shuts down at 3 o'clock for tea, right?
I would think at 3 for tea. Absolutely. Earl Grey in the afternoon, of course.
Of course. Yes. So good. So the facility itself, is it a large facility? What would you compare it to? The size of Anson? You've been to Anson. Is it, how big?
Anson's deceptive because they've got their product in the middle of the floor, don't they, on the displays, as well as on the wall. It's a very functional place. It is not big by any means, not huge, but it's very, very efficient, and it's set up where you could probably pull 5 or 6 cars in based on the current setup, based on their layout now. And so you come in, and it is set up so that they can do, the individual customers, the consumer vehicles. And so they've got a big garage, and the building is tall enough inside. So they do have an upstairs area. Matter of fact, they do their training upstairs. And if you've seen the photos of the rec room with the putting, the golf, the putting green and the ping pong table, that's upstairs opposite of the training area. So when they do PDR training, it's on a smaller scale.
Sure.
And then there's also an additional upstairs office space, plus then a waiting area office downstairs. It's a very functional space.
Yeah.
If you're like a PDR technician in England, do they have a retail facility that you could come in and buy tools? Or is
Yes.
it? Yes.
It is set up as a tool store as well. And certainly it was for the open house. And there was a queue, as they say in England, a line all day at the till, at the checkout for tools. And I think one of the smartest things, and I don't know who I should give credit for, either Kevin or Jordan or you, you've seen the photos from IASRE, and you see they've got their big display cases with the pegboards and the, everything's lined up and laid out beautifully and perfectly. The one thing that they've done at the location, they have little shopping baskets, which I think is brilliant. And you're encouraged to grab a basket and start filling it. It just drives sales. You've got your basket. You're not trying to go, oh, I need that. And
you're trying to hold on to stuff.
We've all gone to the store, the grocery store, and grabbed, a few things at the end of the day. And then, you go to the checkout and you've got your arms full, you're like, oh, I should have grabbed a cart. So they've got these little baskets, which I thought was fantastic. And again, when you start grabbing small things, you grab tips or caps or plugs or whatever. They sold a lot of plugs that day. Anyway, those little bags go into the shopping basket. So it's fantastic. So there was a line all day at the checkout. It was a very productive day for them sales wise, I'm sure. And for the technicians as well, because then they had, it's like going to Anson, because you're in the candy store of Dents,
Yeah.
You get to touch and feel. You get to touch and feel,
which is so much better than a catalog. It's so much nicer, in my opinion. Then you really understand that. How sharp is that? What is the angle? What is the size or the bend or how does that apply? Because you've got your hands on it.
We really do, Vince. Got to go start getting out and seeing the other part of the world like Dave does, man. He gets to go out. You're like a veteran too, though, right, Dave? I mean, how many times you've been to Europe? You've done a lot of hail out there, so you're very familiar with the Europe, aren't you?
I am. I'm very fortunate, and I was kind of joking, flying over, thinking about it, and this is not to brag or be boastful, but I lived there for 3 years, and I was very fortunate and had the ability to travel back to the States once a month. So if you figure that's 2 flights, one eastbound, one westbound, and you multiply that and you do that. Oh, well, in a year, you fly back and forth 24 times. So multiply that times 3, plus then after having married my wife, and we go back every year for, at least once a year, and have, since 2002, when I moved back to the States, I don't know, maybe I'm 100 and some odd flights across the Atlantic, something, silly like that. So it was, it's second nature. I jumped in the higher car, as they call it in the UK, and I did get in the correct door because they are right-hand drive cars. So a little bit of a veteran on it.
Cool. Anything new that was there that we haven't seen yet from the States, or as far as the tools over there, or what?
There's a few pieces that they've got. They've got a display case that's filled with tools. I think they're a Russian tool company. And I don't want to say that we haven't seen them here, but it's something that is not quite as prevalent. There's a lot of important export laws and taxes, and sometimes even with the weight of the steel tools, it's almost cost prohibitive, isn't it, to start shipping stuff around globally?
Yeah, I can tell.
Certainly without it being on a very large quantity basis.
Yeah. I just trained a student from Taiwan, and he bought a boatload of tools. I mean, from Ultra. Okay, I'm not gonna put the dollar amount, but it was more than the cost of my training. Okay, so let's put it that way. But the laws on customs are so tight, and so he still has not got his tools because customs said that he's missing there's 2 tools that he paid cash for, but he sent it to Ultra so he could get them all sent over at the same time, so he didn't have to carry them all, right?
Right.
They were missing an invoice on that. They won't release his tools. So
get out.
No, I had to create an invoice, send it to him so they could release their tools. But going back to your question, I mean, they are just super strict when it comes to customs, and he paid a boatload of money to have them shipped and then paying for customs. So. Yeah.
I took in a very similar fashion. I took a set of pots and pans, nonstick Costco, the big 10 or 11 piece set, with the lids and all that, to my mother-in-law in Spain. And we took it as a gift for her for Christmas one year, and they would not allow me to bring it into the country without a receipt. And I didn't carry my receipt with me. So we had to go, they picked us up at the airport, my mother and father-in-law. We ended up having to print off a receipt from Costco showing what it cost.
Yeah.
What's that set of pot and pans at Costco? $300.
Right.
But they are, and I get it. But it's just one of those things you kind of shake your head and go,
it's almost like, man, it's like, don't dare try to come into our country and bring something. Are you going to pay it? It's like nobody really wants to do it then, but yet he's going to go back there and be gainfully employed and generate revenue and pay tax on his earnings and support the economy and not be a deadbeat. And now, you're not going to allow him to have the tools to do that and be a productive member of society. Yeah,
sure.
I know.
Tools that he can't get in his own country.
Yeah.
So anyhow, so you, in your mind, and it seems like that's to us, but in your opinion, and I'm sure a lot of people agree with you, that it was probably a great success over there, right?
Tremendous success. There were guys from everywhere, and again, a couple guys finished up training from other parts of Europe. Just a fantastic group. Obviously, a lot of UK technicians, many more than I knew or remembered. Saw some old faces that I did know, a couple guys that had gone through training and, our process while we were there. And
right, Dave, because you actually trained Kevin Andrews, didn't you?
I was very involved in that. I'm not going to take full credit, but yes.
But yeah, you went over there with Dent as a trainer, so you probably saw guys that you'd probably trained, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. How long ago was that?
I went over there in 1999.
Wow. Yeah, shoot. And Kevin's one hell of a tech too. I've seen him personally work, dude. He guy is like superbly good.
He's so methodical and conscious about everything. He's almost, you'd almost label him kind of as I'm sorry, OCD. Kevin, almost as a German, where everything's black and white and it's all in order and structured, and this is it, and you follow, A, B, and C, and that's it.
Yeah. He is a very, very good
He's very methodical and meticulous that way.
Yes. I've watched him do his presentation on the EV at PDR College, and you basically described him perfectly. So, and he did a fantastic presentation with that. So I'm looking forward. I know he's only getting better and better at doing this. So that brings our next topic up, right, Vince? So
yeah, but before that, I wanted to ask. What? I'm going to stir the pot a little bit because you know me. I like.
I was wondering where you got that weird face going. Like you got this.
Yeah. So there was some guys talking on the internet about the pricing in England and how it's gone down and this and that. And I know we've talked about it, Mike, how we think that a lot of the training mills out here are to blame for that. You invest all this money in training, and then all of a sudden you want to recoup your money as quick as possible. And Dave and I talked about that last night, how that's probably driven down the price of wholesale. And we're going to have Dave on again here in within the month, and we're going to talk about the wholesale pricing again. But do you think TDN is responsible for some of that price going down in Europe or in England?
Shut up, dude.
Saw the post.
Don't answer it.
I think that you're referring to. And I think may I?
Is this an inside joke or is this real? Because I'm missing the boat on this thing, dude.
No, this is not an inside joke. But Vince, may I elaborate?
Absolutely.
Here's what I think here's what I think you're dancing around. I think you're dancing around a comment that was made by someone, and I don't remember the name, but I followed that little tidbit.
Little thread.
And I'm sorry?
The little thread on the internet?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think what you're responding to or reacting to is the gentleman who said they're training it's a supply and demand, and there's an awful lot of technicians, kind of thing. That's what he alluded to on his reply.
Okay.
Is that what you're kind of taking a stab at?
Yeah. Well, they live on an island.
Well, they do live on an island. But again, and yes, I would love to tackle this discussion. But I had a discussion with several people while I was there regarding that.
Uh-huh.
And whilst there is this kind of, pricing disparage, that's not the right word, but while there is certainly a gap in pricing, can you blame a company for doing the training?
No,
because it is free market society to some extent. And what then, and I'm going to say something controversial, I think there's a shortage of dent technicians globally.
I think the same thing. I think good dent technicians.
That's even another issue. But we've not touched the tip of the iceberg. How many? It's just, we're not doing all the fire trucks, Vince. Right?
Right.
We're not touching everything possible that we can do in our industry with our process. Not even in our industry, but with our process. And there are other things that can be done. And I think that we fail to have some significant penetration in a lot of the customer accounts that we have, regardless of what that is, whether it's a body shop or dealership, or even the retail market, or soliciting your local insurance agent and who's around you, and tons of ideas like that exist. I don't know that we have enough technicians to go around.
Yeah. And that was a loaded question, because I wanted you to just touch on that, because we're going to get into this later on. We're going to have some episodes talking about wholesale. And, there's so much talk about, there's too many technicians, prices are too low, and this and that. And it's not the case. What we have is what you said. It's more of a shortage. And this is just a lead into another topic that we'll have later on. When we have Dave on.
Yeah, well, just to touch base and leave it at this part, but I think you're right. There's too many technicians that think the wrong way. So, they think that they got to price it this way, and it's the mindset of what they think and what really is reality. So, is that really the fact, or is that your opinion? So, either way, I think it has a lot to do with the thinking as well, the mentality.
I'd like to defend TDN a touch on that one, Vince, since it was a loaded question. But yes, they do the training, but and so do you, Mike, that training, you're getting advice and insight as well from Kevin, who's been over there and doing dents for darn close to 20 years now. 2 decades worth of experience. He's not encouraging the new trainees to go out there and fix cars for 30 pounds a car.
Yeah.
He is not doling out that advice. He is encouraging them to stay strong, to do the right thing, to educate their customer, and to preserve the integrity of our industry.
Yep.
Sure.
Yep. Absolutely.
And they are in a position, TDN is in a position, they're the authority. They are the go-to, they're the guru of the industry. And yes, there are other teams and competitors, and it is what it is, but they are a guru in the industry. They have the tooling, they have the training, they have the knowledge, they have the certification process. They're in the driver's seat, but they can't control it all in each and every individual that is out there, nor can you or I or any company, no matter how big or small.
Right. Sure. Right. You as a trainer, Dave, and you knew that you've had your obviously big years of sharing of doing that. But you have an obligated responsibility to let them know, be informed on how to, like you said, treat the industry with respect and go out there and represent in the best of way. Charging accordingly, actually believing in the value of your service, because if you believe in the value of your service, you're going to charge what you're worth. But I think that's definitely how you leave and how you're taught and how you understand how to market is definitely the way to go. And I think you hit the nail on the head with that.
And that's why I think it's important with these mega media events and these PDR college events and all these different events. They're educational. They're going to teach you how to run your business properly and not just whore yourself out because you think that you're not worth as much. There's guys in this industry that put this knowledge out, and you have to seek it. If you don't know what you're doing,
exactly. Look, you're adding, like Kevin Andrews and the TDN group are putting on the EV power down course, right? That adds value to your service. You think I'm not going to promote it as much once I get my certificate from them? I'm going to promote it like hell, especially for the Tesla owners. and the people that, even the Tesla dealerships or the body shops who are certified, they go, oh, okay, this dent guy knows his stuff. You know what I mean? That just adds more value. And what's more value? That means you charge more. So
yeah. Which brings us to our next thing was the EV class. The EV class is going on next week. It starts next week, and it's going to carry on for a week at Anson PDR in Arlington, Texas. I'm taking the class. Daniel's taking the class. We're both taking it on Sunday. John and Mike, you guys might be too busy with your mega media today.
No, I'm going to make time. Yeah.
Well, good. So it's an important thing. And we all need to do it. The wave of the future is electric vehicles. If anything, trends, I believe trends come from California and filter east across the country. And there are a ton of electric vehicles out here. And like Kevin said on the past episode, a little bit of knowledge is actually worse than having no knowledge at all. So there's times that I don't know if the car's down or not. I'm moments away from electrocuting myself.
Yeah.
Potentially. And not.
I got a story to tell you. I went to a stereo shop, a very high-end stereo shop, La Jolla Audio here in San Diego. And they had the Tesla taken apart, ready for me to go in there and do the dent. But apparently it wasn't powered down. So I went to go put my tool. Dave, where you charge the car on the left side? Well, that was open. Okay. And the taillight was out. And I put my tool in there. He's like, hey, they're like, hey, no, don't put your tool there yet, man. We got to power down that thing. He goes, you would have put your tool in there, you would have been dead. I'm like, what do you mean? And that's how significant I think this course is, because now you're completely aware of what kind of danger you could possibly get yourself into. It's not just electric car, but how do you have the knowledge to actually know for sure if that car is powered down, or are you going to take precautions on how to approach that car when it's not? So, I mean, Dave, do you think, were they teaching that class at all during that open house, or it was just talking about it, or they were just preparing for it this week?
It was not a formal class at the open house. However, his overview presentation, and there are certain procedures in place, and there's a lot of lackadaisical approach. Quite honestly, Mike, if that taillight pocket was open and yet the car was still charged, there should have been some red and white chains and some safety measures and some safety signs around that car, cordoning it off, letting you know that it was still live. And again, some of this, and we could all talk till we're blue in the face about certification and process and NAPDART and what's the body shop group?
iCar,
and all of this. You can't police it all again. And, you have some progressive agencies, and you have some that are a bit lacking in seeing the future. But, the certification process and that is taken much more seriously in a culture like Europe than it is in the United States. It's just very willy-nilly. Whereas if you go through, Kevin's going to show you need to set up your barrier. There needs to be a perimeter around that vehicle where you're working so that no one else is encouraged to cross into that area where there is high voltage live open circuits.
Yeah.
And, if nothing else, you at least reduce your liability if anything should happen, either to yourself or to anyone else surrounding you. And again, you get into that civil lawsuit and those attorneys name everybody else on the other side of that V in the court. And so if you can prove and show, hey, my method is X, and it included cordoning off the car. I had my safety live electric signs up. I had my gloves on, my high voltage gloves. Everything was done. You're going to eliminate your risk to yourself and then for future liabilities. And I wish that we were. I hate to say I don't want to be a society where we're all thinking in the box. But I wish we all had a little bit more structure, and that is a part of Kevin's presentation. Plus, for the certification, it's a requirement.
Yeah.
And so I sat through his presentation, and we can get back to that Saturday open house if you guys want and talk a little bit more. But he presented the overview, and there were things in there that I had read, and I forwarded you, Vince, the PDF on it. there were things that I read, but when he brings it to life and explains it verbally, it carries even more weight than it does when you read it. And then you see it, you understand it. They've got their display up on the wall with all the, and then you start thinking about it. You're like, yeah, that all makes sense. And absolutely, you've got to be so careful. And yeah, a little bit of knowledge is more dangerous sometimes. But in this case, when you get it, you've got it. Nobody's going to take it from you. And by all means, hey, the first thing I'm doing is going into my Toyota store and saying, hey, if you're using anybody else, are they certified on your Prius? And they lawfully do this.
Yep. And I seen the course, or not the course, presentation like you did, Dave, at PDR College. And Kevin, he was more than credible at what he said. Okay.
Absolutely.
And that's what I'm going to just say. It's more than credible. And did it feel like some smoke? No, it made sense because I was kind of related to what he was talking about. And thank God I didn't hurt myself. But if you can prevent your safety and then gain some certification at the same time, it's a win. So I think that's something that everyone needs to consider doing.
I think every R&I tech should be taking this course as well. They're the ones in there removing and replacing everything.
And beyond that, it's not just powering the vehicle down. There's residual current and energy that's stored elsewhere that I didn't know about.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to spoil his whole class because that's the point of everyone taking it. But I was surprised at where some of that current and voltage was hiding.
Yeah, I'd say I didn't even think about that either. So, and talk about what else is going on, Vince.
What else is going on? The Bonanza, the Anson Bonanza is next weekend.
April 7th.
This is dropping on Tuesday. So this weekend is the Anson Bonanza, and it is the open house on Saturday. It was so much fun and awesome last year. I loved it. As Craig calls it, Arlington is the center of the universe. So you better get to the center of the universe next Saturday.
Yep. And I think there's going to be a big hell of a turnout too. So, and hopefully it hails like hell afterwards. So
while we were there last year.
just like last year.
Yeah. Yeah. Was it the same time this year? It was
March. It was middle of March.
So it was a little bit earlier then. So
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it. I heard they redid everything. Of course, our mega media event is going to be April 5th through the 7th.
Is there any slots left? You're going to take any
I honestly think there's a couple slots left, honestly. So
no walk-ins?
We'll take a walk-in. Just depending on like 10, 15 people come. I don't know. I don't think we're going to be able to do that. So no, it ain't going to be that. We're going to have enough room for that. No. What was I going to say? One of the big things that we're actually, promoting or helping the guys that are attending the event is how to systemize no matter what kind of, no matter if you're a retail tech or a hail tech, how to make your life easier and faster with having a system in place. And one of the big topics is a calendar system. So be prepared for that. You will not believe what you've been missing for so long about how to manage without a secretary your time. And it's definitely a must-have. I've been using it. I've been testing it obviously for myself. I have a few people out there that've been using it already, and they are just can't believe how much time they're saving and how more efficient they are becoming and making money in the middle of the night too. So,
and Mike, that is something that we've struggled with, and you and I have talked about that for years. Do we share our calendar? Do we not share our calendar? We're going back to like when iCalendar first came out. You and I would have that discussion. Do we let people see it and make their own appointments and this and that? And now you finally found a system that works for our type of industry.
I did, and I've been using it, and I'm gonna give everybody the formula that's there. It's gonna be just all laid out. And, I'm going to hold your hand and I'm going to give you the formula. And if you don't tell me it doesn't work, because I guarantee you will have it set up by the time you're done with your mega media event. So you will love it.
That's great. Now, Dave, we did kind of skip over the Saturday at TDN. So can you give us a brief recap real quick before?
Oh, sorry. I thought we already talked about
here.
No, sure. We had the day started at 10 o'clock. They had a line out the door already. Tools were being, they're flying off the shelves. And throughout the day, they had several presentations. So as an example, and the lineup included Tony Frasher and Ryan Hampton. They gave an overview, more so not about hail or global hail, but a little bit about the future and the direction of PDR, and some of it involving insurance coverage and their insight into it. And of course, there was the hail banter, just simply because that's their specialty. So you had that going. Kevin ran over his EV hybrid overview with the guys, not as a full course, but certainly as an overview and a direction. Eric from Mobile Tech RX was over. He gave an overview, and of course, their platform includes European pricing and UK pricing, along with the makes and models on Mobile Tech RX. So he took that and showcased it.
They have European models in Mobile Tech RX?
Can you believe it?
Wow. I didn't know that.
Damn,
Yes,
they're getting big time now.
Yes. Craig Dyer and Dave Streen gave an overview in the tooling industry. Yeah. Craig showcased his new tequila tools, which are very nice if you've not seen them or gotten your hands on them. He also, and then of course, Dave talked a little bit about the ergonomics, some of what's involved in research and development before you get into the tool business. The pitfalls, the failures, the successes, and obviously the direction and the ideas. And so he gave an overview with that. That was great. And so it was just well-rounded day. Jordan had hired a scale electric company to come in, and they had this mini kind of Formula One circuit with remote control, or not remote control, but with the electric race cars that ran. So that was fantastic. There was food. We had wood-fired pizza. It was very well thought out and encountered, set up for everybody to encounter as much as they could, to talk and catch up, to listen to some of the new direction and ideas going on, buy tools, be exposed, get ideas, network. It was a fantastic setup and tremendously successful.
Wow.
And you do have to say, it's always fun to network, and there was tons of technicians there, right?
There are more than I had thought, and I was very surprised when I asked Jordan. I said, "How many people are you expecting?" And he had kind of played it down with me when we were talking about it. And finally I said, how many guys are you expecting? He goes, "We're going to have at least 100. And I thought, that's fantastic. And England's the size of the state of Illinois, essentially, give or take, in terms of geography. And so it is a small place, and to have, 100 guys come from throughout the country, and probably more than that. I'm sure the number was higher than that, but that was just kind of him shooting from the hip with that number. I thought, this is fantastic. And there's still a little guarded perception, I think, with some of the technicians there that, they still kind of have this old school PDR, like this is my account in my territory. And, they've got their arms around it, and they get offended if someone, even an individual customer calls someone else, and then they see their buddy or see another Dent van driving around. They kind of get, they get on guard rather than kind of taking the high road and saying, "Hey, how did that work out for you?" Or,
But you know what, David? Myself and Mike, we experienced that early on with MTE.
Sure.
When we used to go to MTE early on, we wouldn't talk to any. Well, we would talk to people, but people had their guard up the whole time. Now it's like a big happy family, and I'm sure that's going to happen again.
And it wasn't. They weren't out chasing each other around, having a punch up in the parking lot, by any means. But there was a little bit of that guarded sense. But other than that, I mean, it was. But you know what? You needed to be in the industry to understand that, or to feel it. I think. If you just threw some strangers in, I don't know that they would have quite gotten that vibe, because everyone was communicating nicely. You had a couple guys with the Scottish accent, the Irish accent, and of course different variations on the English accent depending where you're from in the country. And everybody, though, for the most part, was had zero problem communicating and opening a conversation or being open to speaking. So
that's great. Well, I want to thank you for coming on, Dave. It's always a pleasure. We're going to have you on here within the month, and we're going to rehash the wholesale "Is it dead?" conversation that we had 2-3 months ago. and you're going to give us some tips and advice and how you do it and how you're so successful at it. Because there's a lot of guys that aren't, and we need to change the wave on the wholesale end.
Yeah, I want to hear that. I want to be there for that one. So got to make sure I'm there for that, Dave.
Yeah,
Dave, you're like, you know what? Time flies when you're on here, man. Like I actually pay attention to what you say. So
your words are very kind, Mike.
Yeah, we really appreciate you coming on, and we can't wait to have you back on in a couple weeks.
Fantastic. I look forward to it.
Let's wrap it up, Mike.
Are we out?
We out. We've been
shoot. All right. Yeah. Well, shoot. Why don't we just? Yeah, we'll just keep with the. Nobody got any tech tips? We're gonna leave it there.
I think we'll leave it there.
Yeah, dang. People are getting mad.
See us in Arlington and ask us for some live tech tips, and we'll show you a whole bunch.
You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna talk to a bunch of people and write down tech tips. If anybody got tech tips, so how's that?
You know what? I got a quick tech tip.
All right, go for it.
All right, everyone should have a spatula, or what you use for drywall. I have a 3-inch one that I use for taking off belt moldings. Sometimes on belt moldings, you're trying to get off the belt molding and you're using your wedge and you're bending the crap out of it and you're kinking it here and there. You take the screws out on each side or whatever. Some of them come out easy. Some of them you snap them from the backside, but others are wedged in there really hard that you have to get a little bit of space in between there. So what I do is I take Tessa tape and I put it on the backside of the spatula on one side, the side that's making contact with the paint, and I shove it up there and I pull it out just a little bit. And I go all along the top of the belt molding and pull it out just a little bit. And that'll give you enough space that you could actually snap a really tight belt molding off without doing any damage to the paint.
Yeah, good tech tip, dude.
Yeah.
Damn. Came correct on that one.
I haven't come with a tech tip.
You haven't, man. Nobody's Dave Anson, it's over. No tech tip with that guy.
Yeah.
They probably turned off the podcast already, dude. They probably missed that one.
Right?
Hey, Dave, you good? Anything you can think of?
Great.
You got a tech tip?
I'm not gonna stop yours.
That's all right, Dave. We caught each other off guard, man. So, all right, guys, I'm out of here. Vince,
I'll see you guys Saturday.
All right, you got it.
See you next Saturday, and remember to level up your tools. And Mike,
I forgot that. What's the tagline? Because I never say it.
Wait, hold on. Let me press the button first.
What button?
Join the revolution.
Okay, dork. So, all right, Dave. Thanks a lot. See you.
See you guys. Thank you.
Bye.